Call of Cthulhu, Edge of Madness is a Call of Cthulhu 7th edition actual play podcast presented by DM Fiat with me, Dale, as the keeper of arcane lore. Please be advised, Call of Cthulhu is a dark game of cosmic horror. You'll hear descriptions of gore, depravity, helplessness, coercion, and other serious themes. This is not D&D. This is a game where we stare into the abyss and confront things that stare back. Welcome everyone.
We've captured you.
We're back for session 3 of Call of Cthulhu, The Edge of Madness. Tonight's episode is part 2 of the haunting of Corbitt House. We're going to get right into it because this one's going to be short, sweet, thick, and fast, and there is no guarantee you will make it through to the other side. It's been a day since you conducted your preliminary investigations. And it's early afternoon currently, and you stand in the cluttered, dusty old bookstore, Sandor's secondhand books, gathered around the desk in the back room where Dr. Earl hunches over the map of Boston, tracking your investigations with his red marker, circling off the location of the Chapel of Contemplation, the Hall of Records, the police station, and drawing a big X across the location of the Corbitt House. You've just finished telling him all about what you've found so far, and he's listened with bated breath. As you finish your tale, he nods, smiles with relish, and he says, you've had a busy day by the sounds of it. What you found in the Chapel of Contemplation, that magical marking, he glances towards Angel, that summoning ritual, and what you heard from Mr. Marcano about the silver dagger, I have no doubt that these will be incredibly important. Rule number 1 of paranormal investigations: remember everything. The smallest clue can end up being the most important. He then takes a breath and he looks over at Buck and he says, and surely you must be opening your eyes to the true facts of the world, my friend. After all, you described that strange feeling you all felt in your heads as you approached the ruins of the Chapel of Contemplation, and no sooner had you registered that feeling than Trixie and Angel fell to what could have been a very, very catastrophic accident.
Buck crosses his arms a little bit tighter, and you can hear the leather of his duster kind of crumpling slightly.
The only thing I've been seeing is strange flashing lights from this migraine I've been getting. This whole situation is really upside down.
Dr. Earl brushes his hands in the air and he says, "Oh, you're on the precipice, my friend. It's only a matter of time." He glances at the rest of you. Angel's already muttering under her breath something about the spirits watching, the spirits following you and waiting for you to notice them. He gestures towards Trixie and he says, "How's the leg, my dear?"
Oh, could be better. Could be worse. I'm just glad I got out alive. I see how you skipped it. Might chalk it up to coincidence, but as you wait, you're bound to see something interesting tonight, I can guarantee.
And praise be to the Lord or whoever's watching over you that Trixie and Angel here got away with only a sprained ankle and nothing worse, but, well, today you're to set foot inside the Corbitt House itself, and I have a feeling you'll be lucky if a sprained ankle is the worst danger you encounter. He looks you each in turn in the eye, and he says, "You've made the wise choice to wait until daylight to set foot inside that place. Angel is eccentric, but at least she speaks the truth there. In my experience, you don't want to tinker around with these things after dark, at least not until you know how to put them down quick and fast. So, according to what you've found, Walter Corbitt was interred in the basement of the house. If he's still there, then he's likely the source of the hauntings that go back several decades. If you can somehow put his soul to rest and end the hauntings, then I'll be able to tell Mr. Knott that the house is ready to be put up for auction. Of course, a member of the Chapel of Contemplation, a powerful occultist like Walter Corbitt, it may be that the best thing to do is to simply leave him be. If you find him and decide that's the case, nobody will judge you harshly. If you just want to get out of there, we can tell Mr. Knott that the house is best served staying off the market, never to torment anyone again." He looks down at the map and he says, "Well, one last piece of advice. Before you head off, I suggest you go prepared. You've already fallen victim to one unfortunate accident. Pays to be ready in case something worse is to happen. I gave you $25 in advance just for this situation, and I'll leave it to you to decide what you feel you should bring along." He claps his hands together. He says, "Now, I've got a meeting at the university. A few more recruits that have showed some interest in the club. Sandor will see you out, won't you, sir?" Sandor nods. The old man hobbles over and gestures for you to follow him. And then he leads you through the dusty rows of books, out into the lobby of the store, and nods, silently wishing you good luck as he pulls open the glass door and allows you to exit into the midday sun of downtown Boston. The street is bustling with activity. People on their lunch break, going about their minor errands before they return to work, and each of them blissfully unaware of the terrible dangers lurking just beyond human understanding that you are about to face. You make your way to the parking lot beside the old bookstore and clamber into Chambers' government-issue Crown Victoria. There's no need to split up today. You've all got the same destination. But before you head over to the Corbitt House down on Cobb's Hill, are there any last-minute preparations you'd like to make?
Ricky, I've been trying to think for ages what kind of equipment you would use in the 1800s to ghost hunt. Not like now where you've got like the all these readers and technology or...
Well, if you like, Trixie, you can make an intelligence check.
1920s are a little bit more advanced, so there's stuff.
Your stuff.
Maybe a camera? Alright, intelligence check.
Yeah, go ahead.
Absolutely bring a camera.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a really good idea.
Yeah.
If we're apparently going to be digging up corpses, we should definitely go find
I'm
shovels
pretty
or
sure Chambers would
trowels
at least
or
have a pocket
something.
Kodak anywhere.
Yeah, definitely.
Intelligence, that's a pass.
That's a pass. So, Trixie, yeah, you agree with what Chambers and Buck say. A camera, if you're investigating the paranormal, you could try to capture a picture of it, especially if there's an old corpse involved. A shovel, if you're going to be digging things up. You also think some lanterns, matches, and the like, maybe possibly a first aid kit. This thought pops into your head as you feel your ankle throb with pain.
Yeah, we should definitely deal with that bruise that you iced.
And that sounds like our best option. Stock up
Yeah.
on some supplies.
Some supplies. So Chambers, you turn the key in the ignition, and as the engine splutters to life, you reverse out of the parking lot and begin to slowly drive the car down the high street of downtown Boston. There's a number of department stores and boutiques that line the side of the road, and any one of them would probably contain most of what you need. So you park your car on the curb and exit the vehicle, gesturing for the others to follow you. You split up and in turn visit several of the nearby establishments, hoping to find the necessary supplies. Chambers, you're the one who has the $25. So, if you like, you can make a credit ratings check, and you can make it with advantage as you have the money. But, if anyone else who has a higher credit rating would like to contribute, they sure can.
I have 40.
40. So that'll be 40 with
Mine's also 40.
How about yours, Trixie?
30. I've been spending a bit.
Yeah, well, you spend a lot of your money, like, out of your own pocket buying and acquiring things for the museum. You spend a lot of money hunting down really rare exhibits, so yeah, you're a bit out of cash at the moment. But Chambers looks like the one who's most equipped, so Chambers, go ahead and make a credit ratings check. You may roll 2 dice and take the lowest.
Yeah. First roll was 51, second was 57.
57. Would you like to push it?
Yeah, alright. 3!
3, lovely. So the first few stores you visit, they have the supplies you need, but they're at such exorbitant prices that you decide to burn another hour searching some of the lesser travelled stores, branching off the main street down into the little alleys and side streets at the end of little cobblestone roads, venturing into dusty second-hand stores and op shops. You eventually manage to find all of the supplies you could possibly desire, and for a price that fits well within your budget. In fact, when you're done, you have $5 of the advance left over. And so, the three of you return to the car, your arms laden with shovels, ropes, lanterns, an old late 19th century camera obscura and several rolls of film to go with it, a tripod to set it up, and a military surplus first aid field medic kit from the Great War. You bundle all of these into the trunk of the car and then join Angel, who's already waiting in the vehicle.
I don't know what Boston's coming to. He used to be able to get all this for a much better deal. You shouldn't have to be this hard work.
I'm more surprised nobody asked any questions.
You know.
Money talks in
Money
this
stuff.
Yeah,
town.
I look a bit suspicious, yeah. Looking on it now.
Money talks in this town, and it helps that you bought most of the things in separate stores. Couple lanterns from here, shovel from there, camera from another place. If you were buying it all at once, yeah, if you were buying it all at once, someone would have almost certainly asked you what it was for, but you were able to get it all piecemeal, and now it's sitting safely in the trunk of the car, and as Chambers begins to pilot the car once again down the high street as the high-rise buildings, the bank, the stock exchange roll by, and you move out into the leafy suburbs of Boston. Trixie, you glance over your shoulder at all of the things stacked up in the trunk and hope it's going to be enough. You look to Angel for some reassurance, but she simply smiles and says, "If the Lord wishes for us to prevail, then he shall make it so." About 20 minutes later, just after 1:30 p.m, the car pulls up in the neighbourhood of Cobb's Hill, this historic neighbourhood out in the suburbs. It comes to a stop on the side of the road, the engine splutters and dies, and then you climb out, taking your first steps on to the asphalt of Cambridge Street. Gather around the trunk of the car, pop it open, and begin to retrieve your supplies, dividing them evenly amongst you so that you can easily carry them to the Corbitt House. And then you slam the boot shut and begin to trudge up the street towards this looming gateway to sure terror. The brick building that is the old Corbitt place is overshadowed by taller, newer office buildings on either side. The house fronts the street. In the rear are overgrown plantings and a half-collapsed arbour. Access to the rear exists on either side of the residence. As you approach it, you can't help but notice how the old metal gate hangs rusted in place at an irregular slant, how the house's wooden slats are stained with mouldy and flaking paint, making the house itself look sick. You're impressed by the way the house seems to withdraw into the shadows cast by the flanking buildings, and how the blank, curtained windows hide all understanding of what lies within. You look around. The street appears to be mercifully empty. The office buildings that flank the house are shut for lunch, and you see only a single person at the end of the street, ducking out of a building for a brief moment to flick a cigarette butt into a bin and then scurry back inside where they came from. So you're able to carry all of your supplies up to the front doorstep of the house without drawing attention. You climb up the stairs and stand on the wooden patio. The front door of the house is secured with a thick iron lock. In addition to this, 4 additional bolts seem to have been added in the recent years. Someone's gone to great lengths to make sure this door stays shut. But that's okay. Chambers, reach into your pocket, pull out the set of keys that Dr. Earl gave you, and use them to unlock all of these bolts one by one. Click, 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 click. And then,
I think my old pattern.
once they're all unlocked, the door begins to loudly creak as it slowly opens inward, revealing the dimly lit entrance hallway beyond. A thin cloud of dust puffs out from inside, almost as if the house is coughing. The dust blankets you, and there you stand on the threshold of the old Corbitt place. What would you like to do? Are you ready to enter?
Yeah,
Well, there's no time like the present.
Yeah.
You gonna barge ahead?
Yep, step straight on in.
Yeah, Chambers just sort of waves the dust from his face and moves on in as well.
Buck and Chambers step over the threshold first, with Trixie and Angel taking up the rear. Angel looks around curiously as you step into the dusty, narrow entrance hall. It takes a few moments for your eyes to adjust to the dim lighting. There's just enough ambient light pouring in through the boarded up windows that you can just about make out what's around you, but if you're heading into the basement, you'll definitely need to light up those lanterns. On the other side of the door, a crumpled red mat lies on the wooden floorboards. It's covered in a thick layer of dust and scuff marks. And as soon as you're all in the house, Angel slowly pulls the door shut behind you. As soon as the door shuts, the ambient sounds of the leafy suburb are drowned out, and you're thrust in utter, eerie silence. Almost instantly you register the very slight feeling that you're being watched, but it passes within a couple of seconds. The hallway stretches on ahead of you. At the very end, you can see a staircase, one on the left leading up to the second floor, and another on the right that appears to lead downward into darkness. There's also a series of doors on either side of the hallway, 3 on the left and 2 on the right.
I'm checking the first left door.
Yep. So Chambers, you step ahead of the others, move up to the first door on the left. Try the doorknob and find the door opens quickly. The door creaks as it opens, echoing throughout the empty house. And you step into the room. Dust flies up into your face, making you cough. This room is filled with boxes and junk, such as rusted water tanks and old bicycles. At the right end of the room is a cupboard, boarded shut.
Yeah, I'm going straight for that cupboard.
Yeah.
Does anyone have do we have a tool, like a crowbar?
You look over to the supplies you've brought. A shovel would suffice, you think.
I'll do.
Take up one of the shovels and approach the cupboard. It's half collapsed due to age. The doors have nearly fallen in upon the frame of the cupboard itself.
I'd like to let the group know, by the way.
Yep. So everyone else, you're just seeing Chambers take the shovel into that room. And would you like to gather around, see what's in the cupboard with Chambers?
Oh, definitely. Buck will definitely step through the door, following his lead, and
Buck
look around
steps through
interestedly.
into the small storage room. Trixie, what would you like to do?
We're standing in the doorway, just trying to sort of look over, but not going fully in.
Not going fully in. Angel absent-mindedly begins wandering down the hallway, and when she reaches a door at the very end on the right, she whistles a soft tone and pushes it open, stepping through into the gloom on the other side. Chambers, you step up to the shelf and wedge the front of the shovel into it, using it as leverage. Please go ahead and make a strength check for me.
Yep. Strength is 40. 60 against 40, I fail. I'm gonna push.
Yep.
Oh, I fail. I failed very hard.
It doesn't budge at first, so you step forwards and apply a bit more weight to it, and then crash! You manage to snap the door open, but a splinter of wood is flung forwards and it strikes you right in the middle of the forehead, dealing 2 points of damage, leaving a welting bruise.
Ow, okay.
Splinter clatters to the ground, and you then use the shovel to smash away what remains of the door. Inside,
4 health.
resting... Ooh, yeah. Hopefully you don't get hurt anymore. Resting upon a sagging shelf inside the cupboard, there are 3 bound books, each of them bound with old cord. You brush the dust off the jacket of each one and realise that all 3 of them are labelled Journal of W. Corbitt. It appears to be Walter Corbitt's diaries.
Haven't found a corpse, but we have found a corpse's handwriting.
Yeah.
I'm gonna wave Trixie over. Take a look at these.
Yep. So you cut the cords and prop open the first book and begin to skim it. Corbitt's writing is very ornate, some form of archaic calligraphy that he's doubtless spent hours of his life perfecting, and an English roll will be required to read it. If you'd like to make that, Trixie, go ahead.
Yeah, what would I roll for that one again, sorry?
So that's own language, English.
That's right.
Actually, what's your education?
42. I just failed that.
Just failed.
Oh,
that.
you used 2 luck for that.
How much did you fail it by? You can spend luck if you like.
2. I'll use 2 of that.
2
instead.
luck, yep. So you prop all 3 books down on the floor and take about 20 minutes watching Trixie run her finger over the pages as she begins to decipher the archaic writing and then begins to read the diary entries within out loud. August 1784. As my study of the books of old has begun to progress, I've decided to keep a log recording my discoveries. My studies have been intermittent until now, but after obtaining the means needed to continue my quest for knowledge, I'm sure that I will eventually accomplish my goal. April 1792. I have a terrible secret. One day I came upon an ancient book written in strange letters. I opened it by chance, and my fate was sealed. As I study the old manuscripts, I fear I've become obsessed with them. I've learned much over the years, but I yearn to discover more. October 1797. The world is far vaster and darker than we can imagine. Buried in the ancient manuscripts, old scholars hint at the horrors that live beyond the veil between worlds. I've only scratched the surface of this forbidden knowledge, but I feel an irresistible pull to uncover more. And so, I continue my work, my quest to learn all I can about what our distant ancestors knew and feared. Trixie flips the page. June 1804. Have awakened. I'm not the same being I was before. My mind is clear, and I find myself with a renewed sense of purpose and strength. The one beyond spoke to me, and all of a sudden all made sense, and all of my questions were answered. August 1812. The forbidden manuscript tells of great power. The lore within its vellum pages is a mere glimpse of what lies ahead for those willing to embrace the truth. How to give life to that which is dead, how to see beyond the veil, and how to bring those beings here. I've read these words and learned what it will take for eternal greatness. February 1821. I have done it. I took a body so old, so frail, and used my blood and breath to bring him back to life. For a single wonderful hour, I was able to conquer death, but the ritual lacked power and conviction. My subject returned to the great void, but I'm convinced I've discovered the path to eternity as directed by the one beyond. May 1835. I've moved my divine work to Boston, Massachusetts, and I'm using the city's historic Copp's Hill as a base for my continued experiments. My home is within walking distance of the temple where like-minded others gather, the chapel of contemplation, where all are united in worship and study of the one beyond. This place will serve me well, and I shall find willing souls here. April 1836. The process of harnessing my power continues, thanks to the arcane manuscripts provided by the chapel. Working with those of like mind, I've learned how to open a door to worlds beyond our own, and call forth a servant of the one beyond. I've shared with them the fruits of my own experiments, and the fair exchange of knowledge has made me a valued member of the Brotherhood. Trixie breathes in as she moves to the next page. June 1848 has been a busy year for the Chapel of Contemplation. We've grown in number and have worked hard to ensure this town is a fit place for our plans. The local officials are all under the thumb of the Brotherhood, and recruitment affairs continue to be fruitful. We've made sure to bring in enough people eager to perform whatever is necessary to make our operation successful in the name of the one beyond. March 1852. This lawsuit is outrageous. I can't believe that those ignorant fools would even attempt to take legal action against me. I can't believe they think anyone will believe them. They need to learn a thing or two about who they are dealing with. I simply need to give them a taste of the truths beyond their sheltered existence. May 1852. It is done. The fools bothered me no more, though I fear the chapel may have overextended itself. Time is not right to reveal ourselves. You see Trixie bite her bottom lip as she shows you the final entry. November 1864. My mortal life is nearing its end, and the dawn of a new beginning can be seen on the horizon. The stars are aligning, and I know that in a few short years I'll be able to shed this physical form and live again as an immortal being. Everything I have done, all the work I've performed in the name of the one beyond, has culminated in this. October 1866. Minister Thomas has completed the necessary preparations for the transition. I'm sure he will make the further work efficiently, to the letter. I've chosen my ceremonial dagger as the key. Within its blade shall the energies of the one beyond be bound. It shall be my bridge between worlds. The stars have aligned. I am ready. Trixie slams the book shut, leaving you in silence to contemplate what was just read. You each gain a single point of Cthulhu mythos, and I'd like all of you to make a sanity check, please.
Yep, rolling against 73. I got 56.
56, that's a pass.
Let's see. Current sanity is 49. So let's see. 73.
Yes, you fail. And Trixie?
My current sanity is 57 and I got a 48.
Yeah, so you pass. So Trixie and Chambers, you each lose 1 point of sanity. Buck, you lose 1d3 points of sanity.
Oh, 1d3.
Yeah. You can roll a d6.
I thought you said butt instead of butt, so I was like, hang on, what?
I'll roll the d6. Let's see. So lower sanity is actually lower the number, right? Not increase the number?
Yeah, lower the number. So it gets harder to pass further sanity checks.
Yeah. So that is a 1. So I assume that's just 1, right?
Just 1, yeah, same as everyone else. In spite of
So
yourself,
48.
you feel your spine shudder as the words that Trixie read out linger in the air. You're not sure whether you believe in this stuff yet, but Walter Corbitt obviously did. And it appears he took his knowledge with him to the grave.
Buck looks sheepish and kind of looks under the brim of his hat at everyone around him, thumbing over whatever's in his hands. You don't think there is actually going to be something here, do you?
No, I'm thinking there's gonna be something here.
Don't worry, we'll look after you. Or the best we can.
Buck breathes out, regretting the fact that he spoke up.
You step out of the storage room, rejoining Trixie, who's ventured back out into the entrance hall. And as you do, I'd like the three of you to make listen checks, please.
That's a 48, so that's a fail.
To fail, Chambers and Trixie.
87, that's a fail.
Fail.
Fail. You're startled suddenly by a loud thump coming from somewhere above you, and for just a fraction of a second, you're once again aware of that sensation of being watched, and once again, as suddenly as it began, it dissipates. You stop.
Did anybody see where Miss Angel went?
You hear
Surely that was her,
Angel's
right?
whistling coming from somewhere at the end of the hallway, but she didn't head upstairs.
We should probably go find her.
Yeah, I'm thinking that's for the best. Things seem to get messy when she wanders off.
Chambers sort of
yeah,
walks out into the Sorry?
Go ahead, Trixie.
Oh yeah, ain't that the truth?
Yeah.
While we're heading out, I'm gonna just sort of, I've got some powdered foundation. I'm just gonna spread it out. Where am I gonna spread it out? We're just somewhere here, so when we're leaving, we can see if anything's going through
Good
it.
idea. Yeah. So you pull out your foundation and start powdering the floor. Chambers and Buck look over, not quite understanding what you're doing, probably thinking it's just attending to some womanly thing that they don't understand. But you stand up and explain that if whatever's here has form, will leave an impression in the dust. And then
This is why I keep wondering why I'm the detective and you are just the curator. Anyway, Miss Angel.
you follow Angel's whistles down the hallway, and she calls out, "Oh yes, I'm in here." You find her on the other side of the doorway on the right, at the very end of the hallway, what appears to lead into an old kitchen. She's
You
standing
doing
in
all
there.
right?
She's standing in there, running her finger along the top of the stone oven in the corner of the room, humming as she does so. And she just looks over at you, and she says, "Oh, I can feel the spirits in this place. They're trying to talk to us. Don't you hear them?" As she says this, you swear you hear the sound of creaking wood coming from somewhere up above. Not a thump like before, just a creak. It could be a footstep, but it could easily be a small rodent maneuvering around in the walls.
Well, here's something. I don't know about spirits. You guys,
I feel like we should check this out. This is not sitting right.
Yeah, that seems like a good idea. Buck, you want to go check that out?
I mean, I don't want to check it out, but I'm going to check it out.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you a hand.
Nah, I'm a big boy. I can do this.
All right.
So
If anyone's
Buck,
been to investigate,
place
he
up his
thinks
pants.
it's a skeptic.
Angel lifts up an old pot off a table in the middle of the kitchen, examines the underside, and then she puts it back, and she says, "I'll be trying to communicate with the spirits down here." And then she steps through an open doorway into the adjoining room, what you presume to be some sort of dining room.
You let us know how that goes.
Yeah, Buck hitches up his pants and kind of puffs out his chest and goes for a bit of a wander to go see if he can figure out what's going on.
Yep. So you walk
Not feeling super confident right now.
You walk to the end of the hallway, Buck, and here you see the rickety-looking staircase that leads up to the second floor, and opposite, on the other side of the hallway, a thick wooden door that presumably leads down to the basement, and there's a rusted iron padlock threaded through the front of the door, barring access.
Buck's going to make a mental note that that's probably where the corpse they're looking for is.
Yeah. And then...
And continue up the stairs carefully.
You're swallowing, trying not to make any sudden movements. You creep onto the stairs. The entire staircase rattles as your boots touch down on the wood. The ground beneath you wobbles, and it almost feels like you're gonna be thrown off the staircase, but you make it about halfway up without incident. You turn to face Chambers and Trixie. Chambers and Trixie, what are you guys doing?
I want to go check out more of those doors you mentioned.
Yeah, so you want to just pick the very next one?
Systematic approach. Next one on the left.
Yeah. So you head back to the end of the hallway and approach the next door. Press your palm against it and it creaks open, admitting you into the room beyond. Trixie, what would you like to do?
I'll probably do the same and head to the next room next to
head
that.
the next room. So there's a room right in front of the staircase. It's the next one next one after the room Chambers entered. Look up at Buck, nodding, wishing him good luck, and then push the door open and step into the room beyond. So, Chambers. Here hang overcoats, galoshes, hats, and umbrellas. Several bags of coal for the living room's freestanding stove are here. At the back of the room, there's a door leading out into the backyard of the house, but you notice that it's secured with 3 bolts and 2 padlocks. Someone's gone to remarkable effort to ensure that nobody could get in this way.
Alright. I'm definitely very curious about that. What could we have that could do with padlocks?
You could
You have a ring of keys, don't you?
Smash them. You've got a set of keys, but
Yeah, I'll try the keys first, though
pull
I'm
out the keys,
skeptical.
and one of the keys fits the latch in the back door, the one that's built into it. The rest, the bolts and the padlock, appear to be new additions, and you can't find a match for them.
Alright. Do we have any spanners?
Make a luck check.
Has anyone got any skill in the locksmith? Mine's
Yeah,
only
anyone.
23. Good.
Yeah, locksmith would work.
No.
Rolled. That's a fail. I'm gonna push. Critical.
Critical.
Hey, the
Keep
trunk of
us-
the car comes in clutch.
You keep
Yeah.
the spanner under the
I'm
driver's
specifically
seat.
looking for 2 spanners.
Yeah, you find a spanner under the driver's seat of your car, and you think it'd be perfect to get some leverage on these locks. So you leave the room and quickly duck outside, returning from the car about 5 minutes later. And as you do, I'd like you to make a spot hidden check, please.
Yep, that's critical.
As you step
Whoa.
over the barrier of powdery foundation that Trixie has left in front of the door, you notice a single hairline thin crack running through the very middle of it, as if somebody ran a string over its surface. And as you stop to register this, once again you hear the rattle of warping wood from somewhere above.
Alright. First, I'm gonna go check on Buck.
Yep. So you head upstairs with Buck. Meanwhile, Trixie, you step into the next room down the hallway. And this appears to be another small storage room. It contains old furniture that might be broken up to burn in a wood stove. There's no rhyme or reason. Chairs, old tables, dismantled chests and drawers, old wooden crates, they're all just haphazardly piled throughout the room. There might be something worth finding here, but you'd have to search through all of the junk that's been left. What would you like to do, Trixie?
I keep forgetting I turned the microphone off. Can I do a spot hidden to see if there's anything that catches my eye?
Yeah, go ahead, make a spot hidden check, please.
14. That's a pass.
14. You approach the pile of old furniture and squint your eyes, trying to see something, anything in the dim light. And you catch something metallic glimmering underneath a couple overturned chairs at the bottom of the pile. You kneel down to get a better look at it, and you see a short, thin silver blade, about 3 or 4 centimeters long, that seems to have been tossed away, discarded, and landed by pure chance under the leg of one of the old chairs.
Can I do any sort of check to tell if this is the specific dagger, or...
You can make an occult check or a history check.
History, alrighty. It does seem weird that dagger of importance would just be thrown to the side. 46, that's a pass on both, so pass on both.
Yeah, so is that history or occult? Which one would you like to use for that?
I'll do occult for something interesting.
Occult. Thinking it might be the ceremonial dagger, you peer at the surface of the blade, expecting to see arcane runes or other markings carved into it. And then you sigh in disappointment. You recognize what this is. It's an old letter opener, particularly ornate and well-crafted variety. It would fetch a high price, and you're sort of tempted to retrieve it so you can put it in your museum. This sort of craftsmanship is rare these days, but it is not the ceremonial dagger.
I think that'll be it for me in this room then. Maybe on my way out I'll just snap a picture.
Yep. So you grab the camera, point it at the pile, and snap. The flash emanates through the room. And as it does so, I'd like you to make a power check, please.
That is a 37 pass.
As the flash emanates through the tiny room, you suddenly feel what seems to be a spasm of intense anger surge through the air. It lingers for only a second and then it stops. And then you feel something wet drop from above onto the center of your scalp. You reach up, touching your scalp with the palm of your hand. When you lower your hand, you find your palm smeared with blood.
Oh, great. I'll just slowly back out to the door and try and look up inconspicuously.
As you back towards the door, your curiosity gets the better of you, and you look up, and there you see what appears to be a pool of blood. It's slowly growing larger and larger. It appears to have originated in the very center of the ceiling, and it's slowly growing, enveloping the ceiling of the room. Drops of blood drip off here and there. Click, plop, dropping down onto the floorboards. I'd like you to make a sanity check, please.
That's a pass.
Pass. You lose 1 point of sanity. Close your eyes and turn away, stepping out into the hallway. That intense feeling of anger passes, and when you turn around and look back into the room, there's no blood anymore.
I could have sworn
Whatever is here in this house, it didn't seem to like you taking a photo, or at least it didn't seem to like the flash.
I'm gonna go and find Angel and tell her what I saw. don't know if I'm imagining the blood or I'm imagining the blood's not there anymore, but we might want to check on the boys in a moment.
So you step across the hallway, walk through the old kitchen, and step into the dining room where you see Angel leaning over the dining table, drawing strange symbols in the dust with her index finger. But we will cross to Buck and Chambers. Buck, the staircase rattles as you step off it onto the second floor landing. You no longer hear any sounds, no thumps, no rattles, but you find yourself staring down a long, narrow hallway. The light is even dimmer here. There's only a minimum of ambient sunlight peering in through the boarded up second floor windows. There are 4 doors to your left. The one closest to you appears to lead into a bathroom. That much is visible through the crack of the open door. You'd assume the others lead to bedrooms.
Since it's so dull, Buck is going to recognize that there are lanterns that they should absolutely be using for this, and make his way back down the stairs to grab one.
Also, you're carrying one with you, so you just haven't...
Oh, okay, yeah.
Reach
Cool.
down to the lantern, grab one of the matches and light it, flooding the hallway with light. Now that the flickering light illuminates the hallway, you see that 2 of the doors, the first 2 bedrooms, appear to be either collapsed in on themselves or boarded up. The only accessible rooms are the master bedroom at the end and the bathroom directly to your left. The floorboards are covered in a thick blanket of dust. There are no tracks, no footprints. It seems as if nothing living has set foot here for years.
Spock is going to kind of scuff his feet a little bit in the dust just to kind of play with it for a minute, try and avoid going into any of the rooms, but quickly recognizes that if there's something up here, he's gonna have to find it. So he opens up the very first bathroom door very gingerly, holding up the lantern as far as he can into the room to kind of illuminate it first.
Yep. The door creaks as you slowly push it open. Wait till it's about halfway open and then hold the lantern, pushing it in through the crack, illuminating the room on the other side. Seeing no signs of anything dangerous, you shrug, push the door open the rest of the way and step through. The bathroom contains a sink, bathtub and water closet with an overhead tank. Towels and other personal effects are still here. Enough of them to be typical to a family of 4, all of them covered in grime and dust. A brackish pool of water has collected in the bathtub, fed by a dripping faucet which cannot quite be closed off. The water is almost inky black, and mildew and algae have formed on the surface.
Buck's just going to poke around the room and see if there's anything interesting in there.
Make a...
But kind of gingerly.
Go ahead and make a spot hidden check for me, please.
Spot hidden, that's 25. That is a fail of 46.
Yeah.
Would that be worth pushing, or?
It's up to you if you think it's worth it.
In the bathroom, probably not.
Yeah. You have a quick search, you lift up the towels, and the only thing you find of note, which perhaps would be scary considering the context, but you have other things on your mind, is when you lift up one of the dusty old towels, a spider about the size of your palm comes scurrying out. It's more scared of you than you are of it. As soon as it runs down the side of the counter, it ducks away underneath the bathtub and is swallowed up in shadow.
So Buck's just going to drop the towel and say, "Oh, sorry, little buddy," and it's kind of he's had enough of this room. He's going to meander on out. with briskness.
With briskness. As you turn around to step out, you hear the creaking of the staircase. You tense up for just a moment, and then you see Chambers climb up onto the landing.
Just checking you're doing alright up there.
Oh yeah, I'm fine. I'm doing just fine. Absolutely fine. No problems here.
You seem a little sure about that.
I have never been more sure in my life.
Well, you won't mind if I just take a look myself then.
Oh, please, be my guest.
And Buck is going to step to the side of the stairs and lean very casually, very coolly on the banister.
You feel it bend under your weight and decide not to lean on it too casually, just in case it breaks. Chambers steps into the bathroom, and Chambers, if you'd like to search it, go ahead and make a spot hidden, please.
Sure, that's against 50. I got 37. It's a pass.
Look around the room, lifting up the towels, checking the medicine cabinet, finding nothing of use, but just as you're about to turn and leave, you see something metallic glimmering in the bathtub under the brackish water.
You missed that?
So Buck's going to quickly stride over, a little bit alerted, and just stick his head through, just so he can see what's going on. But definitely not step into the room.
Yeah, just peering into the Chambers. You walk over to the bathtub. You gonna just reach in and grab the thing, or do you want to empty the water?
I'm definitely going to empty the water.
Alright. Summoning up every ounce of bravery. You take a breath, plunge your hand into the water, and you're expecting it to be icy cold with how long it's sat here, but it's quite pleasantly room temperature. You feel your hand brush against the bottom of the bathtub, and then you feel the chain for the plug. You grip it and pull it and watch as the black algae-filled water begins to churn, sucked down the drain. And then I'd like the two of you to make a sanity check, please.
Good. Against 72, it is 11.
Let's see how we do. Whoops. 23, that's a pass.
23. You gasp. Lying underneath the water is what appears to be a severed hand. Its fingers bulbous, almost salami-like, waterlogged. They're wrapped around a rusted silver key. You turn away from this sight. And then you look back, and it's gone. The silver key lies on its own in the middle of the bathtub, surrounded by black-coloured mould. You each lose 1 point of sanity.
Buck is going to shake his head and blink very quickly and try and clear whatever it was that was definitely in front of his eyes. And kind of very tenderly say, did you see a hand?
Sure did.
Is this normal for you fellas?
Was it your first disappearing hand?
Yeah, I'm gonna say it is. This is most peculiar.
Yeah. Alright. I'm freaked the fuck out. Key.
You dip your hand into the bathtub, Chambers, and with the tip of your forefinger and your thumb, lift out the key as if you're retrieving something disgusting, and then you drop it into your pocket. You look at Buck. I'd like the two of you to make listen checks for me.
Yep.
That is a fail.
Fail.
Yeah, big fail. I'm a push.
Can
And
push if you
fail.
like. How'd you do?
I'll push it as well. Why not?
Go ahead.
That's still a fail.
I feel like, how hard can I fail at listening?
You jump. Thump! There's a loud crash, a bang, something heavy being thrown against a wall, coming from somewhere on this floor, somewhere towards the master bedroom. But you didn't hear exactly what it was.
Chambers just sort of looks at Buck and is like, just sort of saying silently, so we're going to ignore that, or...
Buck is going to be trying to muster up his courage and be kind of the big leader type as much as he possibly can in this situation, even though he truly does not want to at this moment. We should probably go get the ladies for reinforcements and check that out. So he's going to carefully take charge and step towards the landing and step down the stairs.
Yep. So we cross over to Trixie. Trixie, you step through the archway adjoining the kitchen into the dining room. The dining room is complete with a long mahogany table, a built-in sideboard, and 7 chairs. 3 places are set but unused. Scraps of mildewy rice soup rot in a tureen. Angel leans over the end of the table, and with her index finger she's drawing occult symbols in the dust, humming under her breath as she does so.
You having fun there, honey? You alright?
She stops, she looks up, sees you enter the dining room, and she says, "Oh, don't mind me. I've just cast a little spell to communicate with the spirits of those who've died here."
Are you sure that's safe? Do you know what you're doing? I don't mess with those Ouija boards or anything.
"Oh, don't worry," says Angel. "None of them died down here. They're all either in the basement or," she looks directly up towards the ceiling, "or they're up there."
Okay, that's a bit unsettling. You wouldn't happen to know who they are, would you? Because I just came to see if we should go check on the boys.
Angel chuckles and she says, "Many people over many years. A man, a woman, a child. All of them ran afoul of Mr. Corbitt in the basement." And then she looks at you and she says, "Check on the boys. Where are the boys?"
Yeah, would you like to come join me? Would it be safer to communicate with the spirits when there's more of us?
Angel
Or
nods.
would you be right?
She says, "If the boys are upstairs, they'll need the powers of Angel Christ if they're to get out alive. Let us hurry." And as she says that, you hear a loud thump coming from directly above you. You hear Buck's voice echoing from upstairs. Maybe we should get the ladies up here for reinforcements and check that out."
Oh, thank the deities. It sounds like they're okay, but sounds like they're in trouble. Yeah, let's go fast.
You lead Angel back through the kitchen and start to make your way up the stairs. And as you and Angel walk onto the stairs, suddenly it feels like the entire house lurches. You hear the sound of snapping wood, and one by one the stairs on the staircase begin to snap. Ping, ping, crack, collapsing underfoot. I'd like, Trixie, for you to please go ahead and make for me a dodge, a climb, or a jump check.
Dodge, climb, or jump. I think having an alphabetical order would be easier, but there we are. 57. That is a fail.
That is a fail. Angel screams and jumps backwards, standing in the hallway. You see Chambers and Buck on top of the landing, and you jump forwards trying to get them. You reach the stair just before the landing, and as you do, smash, it collapses and your left leg sinks into the hole. You manage to pull yourself out, but as you do so, you feel the side of your ankle being cut against a loose splinter. When you extract your foot and crawl onto the landing, you find the hem of your dress stained with spots of blood. You've taken a point of damage.
Ugh, not again. This is a health hazard.
Yeah, these old places.
Dare they be old?
Angel calls, "You go on ahead. I'll pray for you from here."
Thank you. I whisper to myself, I don't know how comforting that is, but it's a thought that counts, I guess.
Buck and Chambers, you whirl around to see Trixie standing there on the landing of the stairs. She's clutching the hem of her dress where you can see tiny blood stains, and she pulls up the hem to reveal a nasty cut.
I leave with this leg, it would be a miracle.
You don't have much luck with your ankles, do you?
No, I didn't. I even made precautions not to wear my heels today.
We should probably patch that up before we continue anything.
Yeah, that's an idea. While I do that, I heard you guys might have been in some trouble or saw something. I've got to say, I was a bit worried. I thought I saw a pool of blood coming from the roof where you were.
Did you now?
We had a run-in with a hand.
Broken hand or a severed hand?
Oh, the owner was definitely long gone.
In spite of yourself, Trixie, you peer into the bathroom, to the bathtub where they said the hand is, and of course it isn't there.
Okay, well, don't think it's just the owner that's long gone. Well, yes, let's get patched up and see if we can find anything else. I had a letter opener, but I don't know if that's much significance, and I barely think it's dagger quality, so I need to keep an eye out for that still up here, but most likely it'd be in the basement. You never know.
With this, Trixie pops open the first aid kit, begins to gather bandages, little bottles of alcohol. Who's got the highest first aid skill?
I have
35.
I just have base 30.
It's probably me, 50.
Oh, Buck. Would you
Yeah.
like to treat
Big
Trixie's wound?
I would indeed. So let's see what we got.
I was waiting for the. No.
That is a fail.
Fail. Would you like
But-
to
Yeah,
push
lucky.
or spend luck?
I will push that. I don't have enough luck to spend that. It was 88.
Fair enough.
But I will
Push that.
that'll be all my luck. Yeah, I'll push that.
Yes.
19. That's
19, yeah, that's a hard pass.
that's actually a hard pass, yeah.
Yeah.
To imagine went to put a band-aid on, and then I went, might not
Pour
fit.
some alcohol onto the cut,
I feel like
treat
it.
it out, retreat it with thinking back to your training back towards the last days of the Great War. You were too late to be sent to risk your life on the battlefield, but you still underwent the basic training, and you remember how to dress a wound. While you're there, you affix a splint to Trixie's ankle, fixing her sprained ankle as best you can, and because you got a hard success, Trixie recovers 2 hit points instead of just 1.
Oh, perfect.
Isn't that dandy?
Feeling better already, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. You never know when this is going to come in handy.
You slam the first aid kit shut. By your estimations, there's enough supplies for maybe 2 more uses.
I hope to God we don't need all this.
And then,
Now,
Yep.
where's Miss Angel? Should we be letting her run off on her own? And more importantly, she's not. And he swirls his finger around in the air. Making all of this happen, is she?
Honestly, at this point, she's said more truth than all of this thing she said has happened. So you might seem a bit like that, but this sounds like it's a bit of truth to most of the things she does and says. But yeah, I would still keep an eye on her. She's trying to commune with the spirits downstairs.
Of course she is.
Hey,
Look, I understand your suspicion, but I don't think it's nothing.
hey, it's just a spirit, so I can't imagine they'd do too much harm. Well, you imagine these
Yeah, the
things would work.
supernaturals never fucked us over before.
well, it's not a genie this time, so...
Yes,
So
true. I
Bucky's
probably should
gonna,
be careful what I say about that then.
Buck's gonna chuckle into himself, say, "Yeah, spirits. Yeah, I'll bet." And
Make your way to
is
the
having
master.
trouble making it into a joke this time.
Yeah, his facade is slipping. Your hand resting on the butt of your rifle on your shoulder, Buck. You begin to make your way down the hallway, the floorboards creaking underfoot. As you make your way to the master bedroom with Chambers and Trixie following behind. Here it is, the source of the noises. You look at the door, it's ever so slightly ajar. Peer, squinting your eyes, trying to look through the crack. You see no signs of movement. No signs of life on the other side. What do you do?
I'm
I
gonna
would have.
follow my trusty, tried and true method of entering a room and hold the lantern up first to protect me.
Yep. Push the
Thinking
door.
I would have taken the photo, but they
Yeah.
seem a bit camera shy.
Bit camera shy. Yeah, didn't like when you did that last time. Buck, you push the door open about halfway, hold up the lantern, and in the flickering candlelight determine there's nothing dangerous on the other side. And then you push the door open, step over the threshold with Chambers and Trixie coming up behind you, standing in the doorway. This is the master bedroom. The room contains a bed frame, bare bed springs, and a dresser. There seems to be nothing of note. The room is completely bare, save for the empty bed frame in the very center. And just as you're about to turn and leave, you hear the sound of the window rattling.
Can I determine if that's the sound we've been hearing this whole time?
It seems likely. You peer into the room and you see the window pane shaking as if being buffeted by an invisible wind, but you can't see what would be causing it to do this.
Buck's gonna chuckle to himself, say, and realize that maybe, possibly, there is nothing strange going on here. Maybe it is just the wind. Maybe it is just the window. And kind of actually out loud chuckle very lightly to himself and wander over to shut the window.
Ooh, okay. Trixie and Chambers? Anything you'd like to do?
And in the doorway, prepared.
Stand in the doorway prepared. Chambers, what about you?
Yeah, I'm bracing.
Yeah. You watch as Buck enters the room, strides past the bed frame, and approaches the window. Buck, as soon as you step in front of the window, the rattling stops. The window is still. And then, Trixie and Chambers, That's when you both hear the sound of something scraping against wood. And to your shock, you see the bed begin to slide along the floorboards. Buck, I'd like you to make a spot hidden check for me, please.
Spot hidden. No problem.
Love how
Let's see if he
Buck said he
spots
was going
today.
to open the window and the music swells like.
That's 26. That's a fail by 1. Can I spend luck to
go ahead.
bump that?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll spend 1 luck to bump that to 25 to pass.
The window frame immediately stops shaking, and you stare at it for a moment, confused as to why it suddenly stopped. And then you hear the sound of metal scraping on wood and catch movement in the corner of your eye. You whirl around just in time to see the bed frame flip onto its side and begin to fling itself towards you, ready to knock you out the window.
Buck is going to leap and roll as far as he can out of the way.
Go ahead, make a dodge check or a jump check for me.
I'm going to go with dodge because that's much higher. That is a fail. I'm going to push that.
Push it, yep.
That is a success. 37.
Success. There's a split second where you're completely unsure what to do, unbelieving of what you're seeing, and then you realise this bed is about to knock you to your death. You glance down at the window, realise it's a good 20, 30 foot drop down into the street below. You tense your knees and leap forwards, dodging out of the way as the bed tumbles across the room and smash! Slams into the window. If you'd been standing there a second longer, you'd now be falling, possibly to your death. The room is immediately silent once again. You lie there on your back, breathing deeply, as Chambers and Trixie watch, their eyes aghast. I'd like all three of you to make sanity checks, please.
Pass.
Oh, 19.
That's a fail.
Okay, so if you failed, you lose 1d4. If you passed, you lose 1.
1d4 or
Officially
1d6?
lost
Just
10 now.
1d4. And if you passed, you just lose
1d4.
1.
I have a d4 here. So, I lose 1.
Yeah, you lose 1. Lovely. So all of you lose 1.
Once again, it's working out okay.
Your heart's
I've
beating.
officially lost 10 now.
Thump, thump. Thump, thump. You see the looks on the faces of the other two. Either one of them seriously just tried to kill you, or that bed moved of its own accord.
You're right, Buck?
Buck, catching his breath, is going to say, if Angel was here, I'd say she was trying to kill me. But you two? No, something ain't right in this place. I don't know what's going on, and this is well beyond my pay grade. We are in serious danger here.
You don't say. I was definitely not the wind that time. The last I checked, I don't have telekinesis. We better get out of this room if there's nothing else of note, because I don't want to be flattened by a bed frame either.
Now that the bed frame's just lying on its side, half hanging out the window, there doesn't appear to be anything else. In fact, it appears this entire room was nothing more than some sort of ghostly trap.
Well, good to see you're on the same page with us now. Alright. Continue the search.
So Buck's going to think back to just while he's like dusting himself off and hitching his gun back over his rifle back over his shoulder and kind of, representing himself. Think back to the discussions and documents they've read about the knife, the ceremonial dagger they'll need, and tentatively, embarrassedly speaks up, not really believing that he's kind of participating in this. So, if there's some kind of ghostly apparition here, we should be really looking after that dagger, right?
Do my ears deceive
That's
me?
the key.
Now, don't make a big deal of this. We just had a bed thrown at us.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we should keep an eye out for that.
He's
Got
going
two
to
more rooms up here.
quite hurriedly leave the room.
Yep.
Got a plan of attack for these last two rooms then, because do need that ceremonial knife, but we do also need our lives.
Yeah. That's assuming it's not in the basement.
Hurts not.
Buck's going to wander over to the closest of the two remaining doors.
Yep.
From memory, they were kind of inaccessible and ruined.
You move up to the first door, and whether it's a combination of age or physical damage that has been willfully done, this door is not budging. It's stuck in its frame. The frame is nearly collapsed in on itself, and you're able to open the door just wide enough to peer into the room on the other side and see yet another bedroom, identical to the one you had just in, just with two single beds rather than a master bedroom.
Buck is going to quietly and quickly close the door, not wanting to anger any more beds, and proceed to the next door, just to see if it will budge either.
So this door is even more warped than the other one. The sides of the door frame have pressed in against each other, nearly squeezing the door, snapping it in two. There's just enough room on the side of the door that you're able to peer past it and determine that what's on the other side appears to be some sort of sitting room. You can just make out a couch covered in a white sheet.
Yeah, he's gonna kind of pull away from the door and shake his head and say, "Well, as much as I don't like to say it, I think there's only one room left."
Yeah. And so, the three of you make your way down the stairs, moving slowly and carefully down the staircase, taking great care to step over the holes and cracks that have appeared. And perhaps disconcertingly, as you round the corner and begin to descend down to the first floor, you see Angel standing there in the hallway, looking up at you, her eyes wide, a smile on her face, as you climb off the staircase, and your boots press down onto the floorboards. Angel smiles and says, "The spirit said that you shouldn't go upstairs."
Did they say that before or after we went up the stairs?
Angel just shrugs and says, I don't know. They say a lot of things. They said you shouldn't go upstairs, and that he likes to throw people out windows.
Buck is going to frown unamusedly and bite. So are these spirits telling you anything else that we should know before we proceed?
Angel thinks for a moment, and she looks around, staring off into space, seemingly distracted. And she says, "He's in the basement, and he knows we're here by now. Normally, he throws them out the second floor window and it gets ruled a suicide. He knows we're coming for him, and he's not going to go without a fight," she says.
Unfamiliar, Buck? Sounds like you were the lucky one.
I'm not gonna go out rule the suicide, that's for sure. I'm gonna go down fighting.
What's you, fuck it. I want to meet this guy.
Angel nods and she says, "He dealt with my family heirloom. I think we can deal with this too. I have the ring of the Blackwoods." She raises her finger. "It should keep us safe through all of this. And I've conducted some minor enchantments and called upon the Lord to bless us as we venture down there." She gestures towards the door leading to the basement. It's locked with a silver padlock and 3 bolts, able to be opened from the upstairs side only.
Buck breathes in deeply and exhales. Says, "Would you mind doing the honors?" And nudges over.
Chambers.
Oh, I would be on it.
You retrieve the damp silver key from your pocket, Chambers, insert it into the padlock, and click! The padlock comes loose and clatters to the floor. And then you step forwards and unlatch all 3 of the latches. You push into the thick wooden door and it creaks open, revealing the thin concrete stairwell beyond that leads down into inky pitch darkness.
Buck, you got a lantern, right?
Buck sure does.
Chambers just sort of
Buck's-
like looks at him and sort of just nudges him and gestures forward.
So Buck is going to reluctantly look around and look back and notice that everybody is waiting on him. And take the first step forward, lantern in hand.
Yep, as you hold the lantern high, the flickering light illuminates the stairwell, and you realise that the stairs are in incredibly poor repair. And yet,
Now mind these, we don't want a repeat of the other stairs.
However, these ones are made of concrete and prove to be perhaps a bit sturdier. Just the same, they're covered in cracks, scuff marks, the edges of steps having chipped off long ago here and there. But, moving with utmost care, you step down onto the first step, and then the next, and then the next, and the others begin to follow. And finally, you reach the bottom. You're standing in a smallish room in the basement. The walls made of circular grey stone reinforced with wooden pillars, each about a foot or 2 apart. This smallish room is scattered with tools, bits of pipe, a trash can lid, lumber, nails, screws, and piles of various junk.
Buck's going to take a moment to, just out loud, but quite quietly to himself, express "Oh, Mr. Marcano, what have you gotten me into?" And I'll start to kind of rummage around the room and see see what he can find.
Buck, go ahead, make a spot hidden check. You may make it with advantage as you have the lantern.
Fantastic. Let's see. Oops, I dropped it. So that's an 80, which is a fail, and an 18, which is a pass.
18, nice. Begin to hold the lantern high and fumble around through the piles of old tools, discarded appliances, bits of debris. And then you smile, you turn to the others and say, "I found it!" Everyone scurries over and you point to the thin, curved, wicked-looking silver blade lying on the floor, wedged between an old wooden crate and a wine barrel. Its curved handle and blade covered in sinister-looking symbols and etchings, and the very tip of its blade painted with what look to be ancient bloodstains.
This looks pretty ceremonial to me.
It does
So
have
he's
a
just going to
thought.
turn it over in his hand.
Has
We found
you-
the key. But did we ever figure out what we do with it? I don't know how I only just thought of this now, but it's good for you found it, but now we're just gonna know what to do with it.
Well, you can make an intelligence check if you like, Trixie.
Yeah, forget I've got that.
I think if anybody will remember the ritual or anything like that, it would probably be you.
I got 60, so that's pass.
So
Woo!
Trixie, as you stare at the knife lying there on the stone floor, 3 possible solutions for its use pop into your mind. The first is, as Corbitt's diary stated, it is his bridge between worlds. It is imbued with his life force. The second, Buck's account of Mr. Marcano's ravings in the sanitarium. The devil is hoist by his own weapon. And the third, the strange ritual you found in the Chapel of Contemplation. The chapel stated that this ritual could be used to summon a servant of the one beyond, and that using a ceremonial dagger was what allowed the ritual to function.
Using hair.
Alright, well, we've got our key. Now we can't really say that we can leave with this, because leaving a haunted place with a haunted object is usually a good sign. Angel, you're saying you can commune with these spirits, right?
Angel nods. She looks around and she says, "He's waiting."
Is there any way you can try and reason with him? I know his journals say he wanted life beyond and to prevail past death, but surely this isn't exactly a peaceful existence or very comforting. Wouldn't he just like to move on instead?
Says Angel, and she nods and she says, "I can try." And then she begins to walk the perimeter of this small room, pressing the palm of her hand against the stone walls as she does, doing that hum that makes you all feel on edge. Who'd like to pick up the knife?
Jump in all at once? I can.
So Trixie, as you kneel down to pick up the knife, suddenly it scrapes across the stone floor, moving of its own accord, and flies up into the air, its point right in front of your face. Go ahead and make a dodge check for me, Trixie.
Oh, that is a massive fail. Can I push it?
You can go ahead and push it.
No, still fail.
Alright, how much did you get altogether?
Oh damn, I just realised I got 50 on that last one, so that's worse.
50. It's up to you.
To me to... What was that, sorry?
It's up to you if you'd like to spend luck, if you can, if you feel you can.
No, I should be right.
It takes you a second to register what's happening. The knife rises from the ground, and then, in a single decisive movement, it flings itself through the darkness towards you. You feel pain shoot through your body, Trixie, as you take... Let me see. Feel pain shoot through your body as the knife embeds itself in your torso, dealing 3 points of damage to you and giving you a major wound. The blade sticking in your torso just beside your left shoulder.
Buck is going to leap into action and jump across immediately and try and use some first aid to kind of see if he can pull out the knife and maybe stop the bleeding.
Yep. Okay, so first, go ahead and do a strength check. See if you can pull out the knife.
Yes, that's
Hang on, don't pull it out.
60.
That's what's holding the blood in.
Now hold on, I do have training. I promise I am not just yanking.
Meanwhile, I'm
that's
going to be sort of shouting into the air, I'm sorry to have angered you, we're trying to help you. We want to help you pass on and find peace. Surely this must be draining for you, and living in this dark place, as lovely as it would have been, right now it's a bit lapidated.
Buck's gonna cut you up and say, might want to hold your breath for a second. 44.
44.
That's a pass.
As Trixie pleads with this invisible hostile force, you wrap your hands around the hilt of the blade, tell her to hold her breath and pull. And as soon as you pull the blade out, blood begins to gush from Trixie's injury, spraying all over you in chambers. You're about to toss the blade aside to attend to her wound, but then the same force that flung the blade at Trixie takes control of it. It begins to struggle to try to pull itself free of your grasp. You stand there wrestling with it, clasping your other hand around its blade, trying to hold it in place. The blade cuts against the inside of your fingers, dealing a point of damage. And then, for a brief second, an intense spasm of rage surges down your spine, lingers for a moment in your gut, and subsides, and the knife becomes inert, no longer fighting you.
Buck is going to look around for anything within reach that's wooden that he can jam the knife in as hard as he can, so it stays there for a moment.
You look around, you see one of the old wooden crates, and then with great force you raise the knife and dig it into the wood, deep enough that only the hilt is sticking out.
I'm absolutely going to deal with this gushing bloody wounds now, though.
Yeah.
Pull out the first aid kit and find some tourniquets or something.
Trixie stumbles over to the wall and, pale in the face, she gasps and sinks down against the wall. She's got a major wound. The blood is gushing out. With blood pouring out from the inside of your own fingers, you pop open the field medic kit, begin to rummage through the supplies and do your best to treat her wound. Go ahead and make a first aid check for me.
That is a 33, so that is just a regular pass.
33, okay. Trixie, you gain 1 hit point and your major wound is gone. You're no longer impaired. 5 minutes later, Trixie looks no worse for wear. The front of her blouse has been torn, cut by the knife, but underneath a thick bandage has been wrapped around her shoulder, and as you help her to her feet, you already see colour flooding once again into her cheeks. And she's able to stand and move under her own power.
Thank you. This is not my
Feeling
day.
all right there? That was pretty deep.
Yeah, well, let's get this over with. We can discuss it later. I want to dwell on
Yeah,
this.
I don't know about y'all, but we should deal with this presence, like, immediately.
You wipe your bloodied fingers on your vest, and then you turn to face the others. You see Angel standing at the far end of the room, pressed up right against the wall. She's tapping the wall with her finger. Tap, tap, tap. She looks over your shoulder and she says, "He's behind here."
Buck's going to squint.
Didn't think he was behind us with what we just seen.
Angel shrugs and she says, "I don't know, but I can feel him. He's behind this wall."
Oh, maybe that's where his body is. That makes more sense.
Yeah, must be how.
Now, as much as I didn't have exhuming a corpse on my to-do list today, we should go get the tools and get this started. So Buck's gonna rush upstairs and grab everything that he possibly
all the
can.
tools you have. A few minutes
Go on
later, you're standing in front of the patch of wall that Angel indicated, holding shovels, and lanterns, and noticing that this portion of the wall looks to be ever so slightly newer than the rest, but aside from that, there is no indication that there's anything beyond it. And yet, Angel insists, he's through here. He's behind here.
Buck is going to remember that at this moment that in the arcane paperwork that they'd found underneath the church area at the chapel, that we could imbue something into the knife potentially, and that maybe that would be a good idea before we start exhuming a potentially alive corpse.
Yep.
So,
Would you
is there some kind of ritual we could do with this to protect ourselves from whatever in God's name this is?
There
Look,
is
I'm not
indeed.
sure.
There is the summoning ritual. The ritual to summon a servant of the one beyond.
Well, that sounds good.
The confidence
Now,
of the servant from the one who this gentleman has been worshipping and who's been brought back from the dead.
Now, to reflect back on my to-do list, I did not intend to give Miss Angel a knife today, but it's a very strange day.
Yep. So that's what you want to do?
That is what I want to do.
Alright, so as I'm aware, Buck, Angel, and Trixie all memorized the ritual. So, as you describe what you wish to do to Angel, and her eyes light up with enthusiasm as she reaches into her folds, pulls out a stick of chalk, kneels down and begins to draw a circle on the grimy stone, begins to lay out little magic stones and crystals around it. She reaches out for the ceremonial dagger.
Buck is going to reach out with one hand and kind of motion to put his hands around the hilt, flinch for a moment, and just kind of look at it, kind of re-enthuse himself and grab it and rip it out and give it to Angel.
Angel almost snatches the dagger from your hands, and as she clasps it, she looks at you and she says, "Oh, I can feel the power within it. It's positively pulsing with energy." So, this dagger has 10 points of power imbued within it. This will increase the base chance of success of the spell by 2 points per point of power, so 20%. As Angel closes her eyes, holds the dagger in front of her in both hands, and begins to chant, Trixie and Buck, you may each choose how many magic points you would like to contribute. Each magic point will add a 10% to the chance that the spell will succeed.
I'm going to start with 5, I think. I think that's reasonable.
Yeah. So that brings it up to 70. And Trixie, would you like to contribute 3 magic points to bring it to 100?
I think I'll
That's if you want to participate at all.
I think I'll bring her up by 2. She was curious to see what happens, but she doesn't want to engage fully.
So there is a 90% chance. So I would like, as you are now casting a spell, to each lose, except for Chambers, who's not taking part, D4 sanity points.
That is a 1 again.
1, nice. And Trixie?
3, this is...
3. Angel continues the chant, and then you step forward, stand on the edge of the circle, close your eyes, clasp your hands together, and join her, reciting the words you read in the book, reciting the eldritch incantation. The chant continues. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and your recitation gets faster, more feverish. The words blur together in a din, a cacophony of voices as the air within the basement begins to grow thicker, denser, colder, warping around you. And then finally, you pierce the veil between worlds. You feel a great presence within the room. You open your eyes, and there, shuffling towards you in the darkness, is the gigantic, blasphemous form of a thing not wholly ape and not wholly insect. Its hide hangs loosely upon its frame, and its rugose, dead-eyed rudiment of a head sways drunkenly from side to side. Its forepaws are extended with talons spread wide, and its whole body is taut with murderous malignity, despite its utter lack of facial description. As you see this creature, I'd like everybody in the room to please make a sanity check.
Oh, 32, that's a pass.
That's a fail.
Pass.
Pass. So if you pass, it's a san loss of 1. If you fail, it's a san loss of 1d10.
1d10.
Oh.
Alright. That hurts.
Before you still get 1.
I'm hoping my luck will continue. Let's find out. That's a 4. Sad.
4. Okay, it's not enough to send you temporarily insane, though.
Just.
Trixie and Chambers, how did you guys go?
Buck's still got plenty of luck.
I passed, I got a 32. So.
Yep, so you lose 1, and how about you, Chambers? You feel your...
Yeah, I passed.
Yes, a 1. You feel your heart cease to beat, your body's frozen with fear. Angel holds out her arms and says, "Behold, the servant of the one beyond!" And then the creature turns, and it begins to ever so slowly advance towards her, its talons outstretched. And here's where I reveal the second part of the spell. Summoning the creature does not bind it to your will. That's something that must be done separately. Who'd like to match wits with the monster and try to do an opposed power check to bind it?
I think I should be me. I've got a power of 80.
Yeah, alright. You step forwards, Chambers, and as you see the creature shambling towards Angel, a look of alien hunger on what passes for its face, you stare right at it. You call out, "Hey!" It stops. It turns towards you. Its insectoid eyes peer into your own. Go ahead and make a power check.
Rolling. That's a fail. Can I push?
And push.
Pass. Critical, actually.
Critical pass.
Man, Chambers.
Critical pass opposed to its power check. It got a regular pass. The creature stops. You and this eldritch abomination stare at each other for what seems like an eternity. And then finally, it looks away. You hear a voice whisper in the recesses of your mind. "I am yours."
Didn't expect the supernatural to follow the human authority, but hey, it works.
Yeah, I'm good like that.
Didn't even have
Buck
to
is
show
gonna
me
be
bed
like-
or nothing.
Buck is tremoring slightly in his hands.
Yeah, now you've seen a monster. And you're
This is gonna
tempted
just
to
stir the
just
pot a bit.
grab
I feel
your
like-
rifle and unload into this thing. But somehow, by the look on Chambers' face, the way he looks over at the rest of you and nods softly, somehow this thing means you no harm. At least not yet.
She's gonna want to lighten the mood and try and stir a bit, and over to Buck, like, what do you think this could be? Trick of the light or toxic smog? What do you think?
Buck is going to be like opening and closing his grip on his pistol in its little holster. This ain't a dream, but good lord, it's just kind of mouth agape, eyes wide, extremely uncomfortable. His entire world is definitely upside down at this point.
And little does he know how close you all just came to death. I will point out that if Chambers did not bind this thing, it would have attacked you, and its regular attack deals 1d8 plus 1d6 damage.
Holy
hell.
gosh.
Good job, Chambers.
That is a dimension
yeah.
shambler.
I'm thinking we call him Skitters.
Yes. Chambers trying his best to lighten the mood. Angel just shrugs nonchalantly, as if this is nothing to her. And then she reaches for the shovel on the ground, turns and begins to smash the blade of the shovel into the stone wall.
Buck is going to take this opportunity to, whilst he's sitting with his hands busy and is kind of like prone on the ground, shuffle backwards a little way towards the wall and for a helping hand. Any opportunity to get away from whatever that is.
Yeah. You grab the shovel, as loath as you are to turn your back to this thing. That's somehow more appealing than continuing to look at it. So you start digging the shovel into the wall, into the cracks between the stones, getting leverage and trying to dig your way through. Go ahead and make for me a strength check.
Absolutely. Just got a 60, so that is a 47, so regular pass.
Angel and Buck dig and dig, the shovels clattering against the stone. Clang! Crash! One by one, the stones are wrenched out, revealing the baked mud wall on the other side, and then they get to work using the edge of the shovel to chip away into the soft earthen wall, digging and digging and digging until finally the mixture of packed earth, mud, and pebbles collapses, dispelling a cloud of thick dust. And beyond it, lying motionless and seemingly dead on a pallet in the center of the room, is a drawn, wooden-looking, wizened figure of some 6 feet tall, skinny and naked, with ghastly, wide, flaring, saucer-like eyes, and a nose like a knife blade. Some sort of chain rests around his neck. He has lost all hair, and his shrunken gums have made his teeth look very long. From him comes a sharp, sweet, churning scent like rotten corn. The floor is earthen, and there is a table in the southwest corner with some curled papers on it. You found Mr. Corbitt.
Buck is just going to drop his shovel and, instantaneously dropping it, unceremoniously.
Just throwing it down.
And just be kind of agape for a moment, staring off.
Stare into the room at this emaciated corpse that lies motionless in front of you. The papers on the table next to him, no doubt his final will and testament, perhaps even more bizarre, forbidden lore that he's carried with him beyond this world.
Miss Trixie, I think I need your eyes for a minute.
Trixie steps forwards into the room, and then Chambers, the thing, looms behind the three of you. Your backs are turned to it, but you can feel it there, hear its breathing, the death rattles that emanate every time it inhales air. Walter Corbitt's body lies before you. What will you do?
I'm going to, Buck is going to motion to the table and kind of gesture with his hands.
Now, you're supposed to be good with words, right? Neither of us could read his journal. So you think you could take a crack at this too?
What do you think, Trixie? You game to give it a try?
Actually, what is your language?
I think Trixie's
Someone's Latin.
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 Would the book be our language?
Yeah, it would be. Well, it depends. You don't know what it's written in yet until you approach it.
Too sure.
Trixie,
because my own language is 60.
If it's written in English, you'd have a chance of reading it. But if it's written in Latin, then Trixie would probably be able to do it.
Yeah, I could give it a crack.
Go for it.
Very
Go
well.
what?
Trixie steps through the hole into the room, and as soon as her high-heeled shoe taps down onto the earthen floor, the corpse lying on the pallet shivers, and in a single motion it sits bolt upright, its eyes burning bright yellow.
I pull my dagger from my hair.
Pull your dagger. You reach up for your dagger. I would like all of you to roll sanity, please.
Oh, pass.
Oh, that's my first fail.
Still a fail for me. Not a single success tonight. 84.
And Trixie?
A pass.
Pass. So
45.
Trixie, you lose 1. Chambers and Buck, you each lose 1d8.
Oof, okay.
D8.
I've lost 6. Ow.
6. Oof, that
There's a
was bad.
D8. Okay. Let's see. 5. That really hurts.
5.
That's 40.
Oof.
No, 36.
Yeah, okay. Alright, oof. As you see this corpse rise and stare at you, its angry eyes piercing your very psyche, I would like Chambers and Buck to please make intelligence checks. If you pass, it means that you understand that what you are seeing is real, and that is when the temporary insanity sets in.
So what was the roll?
Intelligence.
So if we roll under, We
Roll
have temporary
under.
insanity.
Yeah, if you roll under, it means that you understand. You comprehend that this is real.
Oh, please let this
I-
fail. 76.
Oh my god, I got
I did not.
76 as well, which was a
Oh,
fail.
how about that?
So you both
Yeah.
failed.
Yeah, by 6 points.
Your hearts beat so fast it feels as if they're going to burst in your chests. You're gripped by absolute terror and you feel your mind's about to break, but you grit your teeth and fight to remain in control of yourselves. You stare at this thing that was once Walter Corbitt. It's time to bring this to its end. Trixie, what is your dex?
Dex. Is a 40. Should I roll for that?
40? No, don't roll. Chambers, what is your dex?
Dex is 60.
And Buck, what is your dex?
70.
70. So, Buck, you are up first. What would you like to do?
Buck is going to be in the throes of a controlled panic at the moment, and pulling his lever action rifle off his shoulder and just instinctively training it and cocking it.
But not
And ready to
firing?
take shot.
Yeah, take a shot.
Absolutely firing.
Cock it, point right at this emaciated, skeletal thing standing before you, and fire. Bang! Make a firearms check for me.
Yeah, so that is a 45 to pass, I think. Let's find out. 17. So that's actually a hard pass.
Yeah, it's a hard pass. Roll your damage and double it for me.
That's 2d6. So, let's see how this goes. Come on. That's 6, actually. So that would be
Nice.
12.
12. Bang! You blast off one of the fiend's arms and a portion of its lower torso. You see one of Walter Corbitt's ribs poking out through the emaciated flesh. He seems to not have noticed at all. He's just standing silently, staring. Chambers, you're up next. What would you like to do?
The gun's getting drawn, but seeing that hasn't done much at all, Chambers sort of just side eyes Buck and is like, not looking for negotiations first then?
No, this thing's gotta die.
Chambers is going to half-heartedly at least attempt to get some communication going on. Do
Go
you
ahead.
understand us at all?
As you speak, the creature looks into your eyes. It seems to be meeting your attempt to communicate, and then you feel some force burrowing into your brain. Will you allow it or will you resist?
I'm going to allow it.
Allow it. Okay. The creature smiles, and then its narrow lips part, revealing its teeth, and it says, "Kill the other." Make a power check, please, as he attempts to dominate you.
Oh god.
I failed by 2.
Well, you can push it.
Or I could just spend some luck. Odds are good I'll pass if I roll again. I'm gonna push. Oh my god, 80 against 80.
Ooh,
Is that a pass?
that's a pass, but you better
Okay.
hope he doesn't do better than a regular pass.
Oh my god, okay.
Here we go. I'm gonna roll for
Please
him.
don't kill me.
Well, it's either or for those rolls.
Here we go. His PAL is 80, like yours, but he rolled a 21.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
You feel your arm raising your weapon, and you fight. Your body is moving of its own accord. Trixie, how much luck do you have?
30.
Buck, how much luck do you have?
54.
You turn, point your gun towards Trixie, point it right in her face, and fighting as hard as you can to resist, you feel your finger tighten on the trigger. Bang! Roll the damage for me, please.
Oh shit, okay. Revolver is 1d8. That is a 5.
5. Trixie, how much HP do you have?
8. Lily's got the gun up. She's going to be sort of pleading like, "Come on, Chambers, honey, you can beat this. You're stronger than this."
Betty just
I'm not trying to do this.
3 left then. I had 8 and take 5.
Yep, bang. The bullet slams into your chest, center mass. Make a constitution check for me, please, Trixie.
Is a pass. 33.
That is a pass. You feel yourself sink to your feet. You feel your consciousness begin to wane as the bullet wound bleeds out, but you maintain control. And now, Trixie, it is your turn. What will you do? You see Chambers immediately lower his weapon, open his mouth in shock, aghast
Oh
at
God.
what he's done, and begin to mutter, "Oh God, oh God, oh God."
Shit, I don't even know what I can do at this point.
Got your dagger in your hand.
And so how far away am I from the corpse again?
About, we'll say, a couple meters.
And we got one more first aid kit supplies.
Yep, one more use in the first aid kit. And Angel's
Right.
behind you, and she's reciting some eldritch gibberish, pointing towards the corpse, trying to command the summoned servant of the one beyond to attack, but doesn't appear to be moving. Its insectoid eyes just fixated on the scene playing out before it.
Hey, Miss Audie, it's alright. Why don't you get your little friend there to do something? I'll patch myself up. We'll focus on yourself for a bit.
Angel calls out, I'm trying to command it with my mind, but I don't have the power on my own.
Buck is going to take a moment to yell over, "Chambers!
How much self-control?
Get a hold of yourself!"
Yeah, how much self-control do I have?
You'll be back in control in the next round, so you'll be fine.
Okay.
You've realised what you've done, and you're now back in control of yourself, Chambers. You just don't have time to act anymore. So Trixie,
I'm just going to take my turn to
patch yourself up.
sort of pat myself up by the wall and my dagger ready and just try and shout it to Chambers to take control of the servant.
Yeah, I've
Angels.
got that.
Angel's shouting, "Help! Please, somebody help me command it! I can save us all!" And Trixie, you crawl into the corner of the room, dragging the first aid kit along with you, and pull the supplies out, start doing your very best to try to stem the bleeding, the blood that's gushing out of your chest. Make a first aid check for me, Trixie.
First aid. Team. Pretty sure that's good. Let me double check I've got
that is
first
good.
aid.
That's a hard pass. So you regain 2 hit points, and you manage to stem the bleeding. Your major wound has healed. You're no longer in danger of death.
Nice.
But it is now Corbitt's turn with Dex of 35. He goes last. He smiles at Chambers and he says, "You called and I answered. Now die!" And then he points his finger right at Chambers. His eyes flash bright red as his toothless maw begins to recite in feverish pace the incantation to some eldritch spell. Chambers, go ahead and make a power check.
Yep. That's a critical.
That's a critical. Alright. Let's see how he goes. Alright, he's casting Shriveling, and he's going to take all of the magic points he has left, which is 15, and put them into this spell. If he wins this, he will deal 15 points of damage to you with his spell.
Oh god.
Let's see how he goes. He got an 81. 1 over what he needed. You pass the power check. He points his finger at you, and nothing happens. A singe appears on your left arm, and pain surges down, and instead of taking 15 points of damage, you take only a third, 5, as the skin on your left arm begins to blacken and burn, torched by an unseen flame. You scream out in agony. Make a constitution check for me.
Yeah, I had 4 HP, so Oh, it's a fail.
It's a fail. And then, Chambers, you look at your arm, see the skin blackening. Your eyes roll into the back of your socket, and you sink to the ground in a dead faint. And you did not have a major wound up until this point, so you don't instantly die. You are dying, and there is a chance for you to be stabilized. But we now go to Buck. You see Chambers clutch his left arm as the flesh burns, blackens, singes and bubbles, and then his scream is cut short as he just drops to the ground. His breathing heavy, laboured.
Buck is going to take decisive action. He's going to run over to Trixie first. Say, sorry, darling, he needs it more. And try and pry the first aid kit out from her, but in return, hand her his magnum so that she has an actual weapon to fight with, and quickly run over to Chambers and like with shock and horror on his face, realizing that this could very well be it for his new friend. Desperately try and patch him up.
So as you kneel down in front of Chambers, you flip open the first aid kit. Your heart sinks. Trixie's used most of the supplies that are left. There's only a couple bits of bandage here and there, a couple dregs of alcohol. You can make a first aid check, but you'll have to roll the dice twice and pick the highest.
Alright. 39, which is a pass. And 17.
17, so you take the 39. It's still a pass. You grab the last bottle of alcohol, dump it all over Chambers' arm, start wrapping what's left of the bandages around the parts that appear to be burnt the most, and then you place your hands on Chambers' chest, begin pumping down. Breathe, breathe, breathe. His breathing is laboured. He's gasping for air. We move to Trixie. Trixie, you grasp Buck's magnum in your hand. Behind you, Angel is trying her hardest to order the dimensional shambler to attack. What do you do?
Do I know how many rounds are left in this magnum?
As far as you're aware, it hasn't been fired. There should be a full barrel of 6.
Right.
I think the trick that Angel could probably use the help there.
Oh, Angel could use the help?
It's up to you. You can help Angel try to command the creature, or you can fight, or try to defend yourself. It's up to you. Whatever you think is going to serve everyone best in this situation.
I was just thinking, I don't think I can really use a turn to get rid of 6 rounds and to be accurate to hit what I'm trying to hit. So I think I might just try and tuck it away for the moment and help Angel see what I can do.
Turn away from Corbitt, face the half mammal, half insectoid shambler that stands behind Angel, crawling over the floor, your body still racked with pain. You close your eyes and you begin to recite under your breath the incantation. As the one beyond, in the name of the one beyond, I command you. In the name of the one beyond, I command you. Please make a power check.
79, so that's a fail, but I'll use my luck points.
Luck points, go ahead. How much do you spend?
A 9.
That brings it to a pass. You open your eyes to see the creature lumbering forwards. As it moves towards you, you scramble out of the way. Angel throws herself into cover behind a pile of wooden boxes and barrels. And as Walter Corbitt raises his hand, opens his mouth to begin to cast another spell, the dimensional shambler raises both of its talons, and then, with no sound, with no roar, with no earthly noise, it lunges forwards in a single motion, buries its talons into the emaciated chest of Walter Corbitt. And as he opens his mouth, he begins to scream, "No! Not there! Anything but... Ah!" In an instant, the scream stops. A dark cloud bursts out of nothingness, begins to swirl around the dimensional shambler, still holding the emaciated form of Corbitt in its talons. He struggles with all his might, but with the damage he's already sustained from Buck's well-placed gunshot, it's not enough. The dimensional shambler bends its insectoid legs, and then it springs forwards into the darkness and is gone. The basement is empty. Corbitt has been spirited away to somewhere else, somewhere from which he will never return. Trixie and Angel, you let out a pained sigh and sink to your knees, gasping for breath. Chambers, you've been given some first aid by Buck, and it is enough to pull you back to the brink of death, but it's up to you to make the final push back to life. Please go ahead and make a constitution check for me.
Okay, this is 50-50. 42.
That's a pass. Come
Cheers.
on! Come on! Shouts Buck, pressing his hands against your torso, shaking you. You can pull through this. Come on! Come on! Chambers opens his mouth, gasps for breath, opens his eyes, and sits up. He is alive. Somehow, he has pulled himself back from the brink of death and lived to talk about it.
Well, shit.
The haunting of Corbitt House has been brought to an end. You're not sure where Corbitt went. Was he taken to the afterlife, to the land of the dead that he worked so tirelessly, so desperately to avoid? Or was he taken somewhere else? Taken with the dimensional shambler beyond the veil between worlds? Taken to visit the one who he worshipped, who he devoted his life to the one beyond? You don't know. All you know is that he will never return. And as you emerge from the Corbitt House, broken, battered, covered in blood, bruises, dirt, and mud, as you push open the front door of the house and step out into the late afternoon sunshine, the rays of the sun warm you, warm your body, warm your bodies, warm your souls. Behind you, the bright sunlight floods into the mansion. Rays of light sneak through the cracks in the boarded windows. And suddenly, the foreboding, dim shadows of the house are no more, flushed away by the vibrant, bright afternoon sun. It is no longer a haunted house. It is simply a tired, old place of residence. Towering above you, looking sickly, sad, and ready, begging for rest. What do you tell Mr. Knott? Do you tell him that the haunting was dealt with, or do you perhaps tell him that there was no haunting at all?
I like to see his face when we try to convince him there's no haunting. We're walking all battered and bruised and shot. I think we would have to tell him, wouldn't we? Nothing to hide.
Fell down
Buck would be
stairs again.
Buck would be absolutely inclined to express that he may have in fact been wrong.
And that's
Actually, maybe you get some more research next time.
And that's the concession you're forced to make when you're face to face with Dr. Earl a week later in the recovery ward of Boston Metropolitan Hospital, as you sit in your chair conversing with Chambers and Trixie lying in their beds, trying to help them not only heal physically, but to process the horrors that they just barely survived. Dr. Earl gives you a slight smile in spite of himself, in spite of the situation. He gestures to your two wounded companions who've been dragged forcibly over death's door, and he says, "Well, Buck, have you opened your eyes?"
Now, I don't want to say I believe in ghosts, but y'all live a very, very exciting life.
This is going to lean over, and I've got to say, your first encounter did pretty well.
Earl
You know, where I'm
nods.
from, you can solve most of your problems with a bullet. Seems like it's not so different here, hey?
Earl nods and he says, "I concur. You've done exceedingly well. You're not in a hospital bed like every other damn member of this club. And I think that means you've earned an invitation from Dr. Eugene Earl." He holds out a hand. He says, "What do you say? You know what's out there now, Buck, and sure, you've dealt with Corbitt. You've put Mr. Marcano's mind at ease. You did what you came out here to do, but there's more to be done. Mr. Corbitt wasn't the only member of the Chapel of Contemplation. The things you saw were only the tip of the iceberg. He gestures once more to Trixie and to Chambers. As you can see, we need someone like you. These two have only barely scraped through both times, and if you weren't down there in that basement with them, I don't think either of them would have made it out. So what do you say? Want to join the club?
Buck's going to nod very solemnly and take his hand and say, if someone like Mr. Marcano can get sucked into something like this several states away, there's gotta be people around here who need help as well. For all I know, there could be another ghost in every house in this entire state. Yeah, you know what? I think it's worth the risk. I'll join your little club. It's the least I can do to help out the people.
The portly doctor nods. He smiles. I thought you'd say that. Well, now, I guess you guys have earned a bit of a rest. Can't keep wearing you down until there's nothing left, and hell, you're starting to become experts at this sort of thing. But from this point on, things are only going to get worse, and you're going to need all the rest, relaxation, and time to prepare you can get. Rises from his chair, walks to the doorway that leads out of the hospital room, and before he exits, he looks over his shoulder and he says, "Rest up, enjoy your lives, and when I need you, I'll call you." And that concludes this session. So, rewards, because you finished the scenario. So, Corbitt...
I can't believe we lived.
Yeah, well, you very nearly didn't. Chambers very nearly didn't, anyway. So...
Now we're gonna talk about your rain, boy.
Corbitt was
I'm fire!
Corbitt was conquered and destroyed, and for that, you each gain 1d6 sanity.
Good.
Oh, here we go.
That's a 3.
That's a 4. Brings me back up to 40.
Back
I
up
got
to
a
66.
you.
You discovered all of the clues. You discovered Corbitt's ties, the Chapel of Contemplation, and how the chapel connects Walter Corbitt to the events facing the Blackwood Cellar. And for that, you each earn another 1d6 sanity.
Oh, nice.
Dice back up.
I say, not exactly comforting when you're playing through and you're actually surprised that it's your sanity. You're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to fail
It's
that
a
one.
5.
It's a 5, not bad. You each gain 1d6 to your Cthulhu Mythos skill. Each encounter with the Mythos granting you more forbidden knowledge. To how
How much?
works. 1d6.
1d6. That's a 3.
You may select any 3 of your skills, including the same skill 3 times, and increase them by 1d6 each.
Increase 3 skills by 1d6?
Yep, so you can pick 3 skills, each 1d6. You can pick 1 skill and increase it by 3d6, or any mixture thereof.
Sure.
And finally, you may make a luck check, and if you fail, you may increase your luck by 1d10.
I indeed did fail.
Yes, you may increase your luck by 1d10.
that's +7. Fantastic. So that's 61.
So sorry, what was that last roll?
A luck check, and if you fail, you increase your luck by 1d10.
I failed.
Yeah, so increase your luck by 1d10.
That's 9. Hell yeah.
And one last thing, the strange papers beside Corbitt's altar in the basement. You were able to retrieve these in the weeks following your ordeal. Once you're recovered enough, you finally have the chance to look over them. They're ancient, written on paper that's less paper and more like animal hide, written in Latin. Trixie, would you like to try to translate them?
Oh, yes, please.
Go ahead, make a Latin check for me.
17, that's a fail.
17, would you like to try again?
Yeah, why not? 88, even worse.
I'll get Angel to roll. This is right up Angel's alley. And Angel passes very easily and translates the papers with glee, relishing in the forbidden knowledge they contain. These are the directions to a spell known as shivering, a spell known as shriveling. It is here in the lucky dice. It costs variable magic points, variable sanity points, a powerful offensive spell causing physical injury to a target. You invest as many magic points as desired, and that number halved in sanity. Then, you engage in an opposed power roll with the target, and if you succeed, the target is subjected to a sudden and terrifying blast of energy, causing flesh to blacken and wither. The target loses 1 hit point per magic point invested in the spell. Who'd like to learn it?
Yeah, why not? Get into this.
Chambers, do you want to...
I feel like it's my style.
Yeah, well, you were on the receiving end of it, so
Hair of the dog?
yeah. So
You
go
know what?
ahead.
Actually, fuck it. I want it.
Go ahead.
I
Each
want
of
it.
you make an intelligence check, and if you pass, you've learned the spell.
Oh, can we all try?
Yeah, you can all. Well, once it's been translated, you can all learn it. You just have to memorize the spell.
I can't push, can I?
You cannot
We'll have to
push,
ask Tootsie if she'll let us.
Voices.
Translation.
What was the ball?
failed.
Intelligence.
Intelligence. Ugh.
Actually, I'll allow you to
Right.
push it, Ash, because if you fail, it means something disastrous will happen. Because this is bad juju.
Oh, I rolled an extra critical success of 5.
Yeah, well, you've definitely got it.
Guys, do I roll?
I really hope your arm doesn't burst into flames again.
I mean,
Oh, God.
I passed as well, so that's 2 people
Yep,
who can do
2
it.
people
So
have it.
What's your intelligence?
feeling a bit
My intelligence is 70.
Yeah, so you've got a.
Oh, you
70%
should do
chance.
it.
Oh,
should do it.
33. Okay, good.
Got it. All right.
Okay.
All 3 of you are learned it, and the first time you practice at Chambers, when you're finally let out of hospital, you stand in the empty lot behind Sandor's bookstore, point your hand at the little bush that grows in the garden there, and point your finger at it, and you watch, your eyes lighting up with glee as one of the branches shrivels, burns, and drops into the dirt below.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, that concludes the session. We'll be back next session for a brand new story of this campaign. This story will be entitled The Legacy of Mr. Corbitt.
Ooh, he's got a legacy.
He does. He was not the only member of the chapel, and indeed, was not the only one with the name Corbitt. But that's for next time. That was The Haunting of Corbitt House, Part 2, Episode 3 of Call of Cthulhu, Edge of Madness. A Call of Cthulhu 7th edition actual play podcast presented by DM Fiat, with me, Dale, as Keeper of Arcane Lore, Ash Gray as Agent Robert Chambers, NCS as Howie Gordon, Toxie as Angel, and Lynx as Trixie. background music in this podcast was created by Kevin MacLeod and is used with permission.